Well, I'm back. Let's talk. First question. It's about the BRE. I'm going to paraphrase because it's long. We all know in every group of friends, whether living together or not, there are usually these three people. Who's who in the BRE? We have the messy, nasty person, the prankster, and the pot stirrer. None of us are messy and nasty. I feel like we are way too grown and mature to be living like that. So that's not an issue. No one has to worry about that. Everyone also has their own space, you know, and we're really good about keeping the common areas clean. I feel like that's just the way it should be. So we've never had a problem with that. That's probably why it works. The prankster, obviously that's Shayna. Shayna has no problem, you know, doing whatever it is that she thinks is hilarious for everyone else's amusement or not. But you know what? She's amused, so it's fine. And the pot stirrer, listen, that's just not an issue that we have. I mean, I feel like we wouldn't be roommates if that was the case. None of us have to, you know, be here. No one's stuck here. And I feel like if there was a toxic person in the group or in the dynamic, that we wouldn't, you know, we would sit down and we would have a conversation about it and it wouldn't be an issue. But that's just not, I don't know. I feel like maybe we're really lucky. And I've always been very picky about the roommates that I live with. It's listen, if you really want to test your friendship with someone, try living with them. Because it's just inevitable. Like you have to be able to talk, you have to be able to communicate, and I think what makes the BRE so special is we're very good at doing that. And we sit down and we have family meetings, and it's important. You know, I think that really is important, and I think because we do that, we don't really have problems like this. People like this in our group. It's nice, and I feel very fortunate to have such good roommates. So, will you keep this channel going as a gaming channel, or turn it into something else like vlogging? Well, to be fair, I think I have uploaded some other things on the channel before that's not gaming, but I don't want to limit or label myself in any way when it comes to this. I feel like the platform itself just encourages you to be more creative and try new things, and I look forward to doing that. I don't think I'm going to become a vlogging channel, or I don't think I'm going to become a reaction channel, or this channel or that channel. I don't even really consider myself a gaming channel. I think I just am what I am. I just put out what I like and what I enjoy making, and it's kind of all over the place. So if people like it, great, and if they don't, that's fine. You know, I'm not mad. I'm not offended. I'm having fun putting out what I'm doing. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think you can expect a variety of content on my channel. Already, I'm just getting better at trying new. That's what I mean. What do you think this is, right? Like the last time I did this, it was the very first Q&A I've ever done, ever. It's just not a thing I ever, you know, wanted to do. Not that I didn't want to do it. I was like intimidated by it, I guess. That's really what it was. So even doing this is like it's me spreading my wings. So enjoy. Strap in and enjoy the ride. Next question. I don't have to yell. You can hear me. Do you like baseball? If so, what is your favorite team? Well, I've been to several baseball games. I couldn't tell you the name of any team I've ever seen play. I will say this though, going to a baseball game live is fun. I did enjoy it. I love stadium food. I really do. And I enjoyed the music, and I don't know, I liked all the stuff they did with the crowd. I had fun. I enjoyed it. I don't know anything about baseball. I don't follow baseball. I don't have a favorite team. I couldn't even name you a team. What is it? Isn't it the Angels in LA? That might have been the one, like, not the one game. I've been to a few games. That's probably the one I can name you though, because I think it was the last one. So not really. Next question. You are part of my favorite fan experience ever. what has been the best and the worst experience, fan experience that I've ever had? Well, one of the ones that really ranks up there was the guy that when Ronda and we were on a road trip, and a guy who recognized her in the car came up to the car, grabbed the door handle and like opened it and was trying to get in and lean in and like take a picture with her or something. But it was just, you know, it's just not a thing that you should do. And we, you know, responded accordingly. And I don't know, they apologized because clearly we weren't having it, but it made me feel weird. You know, it was kind of scary too that someone could do something and like cross those lines so easily, and then just be so unaware that what they were doing was even wrong. Like, it was just shocking. Like, oh my God, I didn't even think that would be a bad thing. And I'm like, okay, I guess. That was pretty bad. That one ranks up there. The guy that, you know, opened the car door and tried to lean in, because you just never know. You know, you just never know, and you don't do that. Don't open people's car doors. Don't do that. But it's not all bad, right? Like, it's not all the worst thing ever. I've had plenty of great fan experiences. Some of the ones that are very near and dear to my heart would have to be when we have gone over to the Middle East with Armed Forces Entertainment. Shayna and I have done several tours with them through the Middle East and several different countries over there, some places in Africa too. We would go and visit the military bases, and we would do a meet and greet with the soldiers, but then what we would also do is we would just grapple with them. And it was so fun, and it was so different from any of the other tours that people were doing, and it was such a different experience that the soldiers could participate in. And even if they didn't want to like get on the mat and wrestle, just being able to do something active and learn something new from professional fighters, being able to say they got on the mat and trained with a professional fighter was just like a big deal to them. So even the ones that didn't want to like, you know, it wasn't like tournament time. And believe me, for some of them, it was. All right. Like, we definitely got put on the spot. Like, it was straight up competition mode. They were taking no prisoners, and they did not care that we were girls. It's like, it did not matter, right? They just wanted to be able to say that they tapped out a UFC fighter. That was all they needed. Didn't matter if it was male or female. And we were fine with it. I was like, this is great. Like, bring it on, guys. So we would do that for like 2 weeks straight. Just exhausted, destroyed, but so rewarding and so fulfilling. And just being able to talk to them before or after when we were, you know, traveling, just feeling so appreciated for our efforts. And it didn't even feel like we were doing that much. I'm like, we're literally just showing up and grappling, you know, like I'm and having conversations and talking. I don't feel like I'm sacrificing some big thing to do this. It just felt like the right thing to do. But seeing how much they appreciated it and how much they enjoyed it, and I don't know, just we have a lot of really good memories. It's a lot of fun, a lot of good friends like that we met, and people I still stay in contact with from doing those tours. So that's definitely got to be up there for best fan experiences. Out of the entire BRE, who is the best cook? And what is your favorite dish by said person? Well, I feel like we all have our strengths, okay? I don't think there's necessarily one that's better than all the rest, except for me. But as far as cooking goes. But everybody in the BRE has their specialty thing that they can cook that we all love. Like Mia, makes the best Korean barbecue ever. Actually, that's not true. Her mom makes the very best, the very, very, very best. But what Mia makes is also very nice. So that's her thing. Shayna has this smoker that I'm convinced she cannot, like, you can't mess up a meal on it. Everything I've had that she has cooked on that smoker has been amazing. So I don't know if it's her. I don't know if it's the smoker, but man, she makes a mean steak. And I've had some good steaks in my day, okay? For real. But she can handle that smoker, and I ain't mad about it. And Dakota makes these delicious lamb lollipops. Like, I don't know what it is about New Zealand and lamb. I guess it's like a thing, but like they know how to cook some lamb. So whenever we want that, she takes over and knocks it out of the park every time. So everybody has their thing. We're all good. We all take turns being the best cook, except for me, because I'm the, because it's what I do. All right, it's what I do. I feel like the thing I make that they all love the most would probably be my potato soup. It's very good. It's very, very nice. Thoughts on doing a hair tutorial? I've tried to get the braids perfect, but I just look silly. What, these little things? These little things? These exist because I can't braid my hair any other way. I can't do a braid back here. I can't do them anywhere else. I can literally only do them here. That's it. So I feel like I could probably show you pretty quick. It's not very fancy. If I can do it, I have full confidence that anybody could do it. Okay? Because listen, hair is not my thing. It's not. It's not a skill that I possess. So I've learned how to do this out of necessity, but super easy. I'll think about it. I don't know that it's worth a whole video, but I got you. Don't worry. We'll work it out. Is there ever going to be a BRE YouTube channel? Probably not. I feel like we all have our own individual channels, and we all do stuff together. There's really not a need to have a specific BRE YouTube channel, and that would just be another huge undertaking on top of all the other stuff that we're doing. So probably not, but I don't think there will be any shortage of BRE content between all of us, and we're gonna be making videos, just probably not a specific channel. Just subscribe to our channels. That's it. That's all you got to do, and then you'll get all you want. What do you love and admire most about the BRE? Feel free to get cheesy. Well, I feel like I've been talking about the BRE for the, first 10 minutes of this video. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And if I haven't already been cheesy enough, I think it's safe to say that we all clearly love each other, and we have this, I don't know, it's just a thing I've always looked for and found in these different career paths that I've chosen, whether it was fighting or whether it was pro wrestling. I've managed to find a sisterhood of like-minded souls that are on the same pursuit, if you want to call it that, the same journey. And it's nice when you're able to come together with people like that and work together and share time and space and energy together. And it just helps everything. It just helps you all, I feel like we're all supporting each other on achieving our goals. And it's just so special to find. It really is. It is unique. I know that's why people ask about it a lot and talk about it a lot, because it's not a thing you find every day. It is rare. I'm telling you, it's rare. And so, yeah, it's great. Yeah. They're great. Next question. What's the craziest thing you've done but regret? Well, there's not much in life that I regret. I feel like everything that I've done or experienced, whether willingly or unwillingly, and whether it was pleasant or unpleasant, I've benefited from it. And I don't know that I would trade the experience I gained from something, even if it was a bad experience. I'm not sure I would trade that just to take the experience away and say, oh, well, you don't have to go through that. I would rather go through stuff. I'd rather make mistakes and learn from them. And I'm trying to think. I've definitely made some stupid decisions, but none that I regret. This is probably a dumb question. There's no dumb questions. But can you explain the difference in your training now as compared to MMA? I mean, I know there's a difference, but what's the biggest difference? Well, like you said, obviously there's differences, right? They're completely different activities to partake in and learn and receive coaching for. So, besides the obvious things that I'm just learning new skills, I would say the biggest difference in the training and an aspect of training that I focus on just as much as the physical stuff would be like promo classes, acting classes, the kind of stuff that is to develop your character and being in front of a TV and on a camera. There's a lot of stuff that is just more than, learning the moves in the ring and adjusting to that. So being able to focus on those things, I've had a lot of fun with. So it's been a nice change, and it's good contrast. Like, I love that the physicality is very similar, yet I have this whole other realm of things that I can focus on and learn and develop, and it helps. It's nice to be somewhere and, have access to really good coaching and classes, and I get challenged in a lot of different ways, and it really takes me outside my comfort zone. I'm really comfortable with physical stuff. I'm very uncomfortable with the other. So, and it's getting better though, and I have fun with it. So that's probably the biggest difference if I had to pick one. Next, you like sports or racing games? No, not really. I don't play them very much. Every now and then there's one that will like something different. God, what was the street ball game on, like, I think it was 64. I can't even remember now. It was like a street basketball game. It was super cool. I liked that one. And a racing game, I think the only racing game I ever played much of was like Burnout Revenge. And there was a Need for Speed, like what was it, Underground or something like that. That one was okay. God, that was a long time ago. But that's about it. That's not really my, what's the word? I need a good word. That's just, I don't know. I've never really been into them that much. I'll play them. I'm like, neat, but they just don't hold my attention. Like, I need something that grabs me, I need something, and I think that's why I gravitate towards the ones that are different, or weird in some way. It's just something different. I remember, like, when Gran Turismo came out on whatever PlayStation it was, and everyone was just, like, all about the graphics and how realistic it was and how detailed it was. But then when you played it, I'm just like, it's just boring. Like, this just bores me. I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's me. I'm not saying it's not. But they haven't really, at least not recently, there's been no sports or racing game that I've been like, oh my God. So, who knows? Maybe in the future. I'll keep an open mind about it, all right? Let's see. Oh, what happened to Duke in Bannerlord? Well, you're right. Duke was an unfortunate naming incident in my Mount and Blade series that I was doing for Duke Plays. It was funny because I created this character and they were like, name your character, and I was like, obviously it's Duke. Since this is Duke Plays, the name needs to be Duke. We got to keep it all consistent here. And so I did that, and then I played through the tutorial, and they were like, congratulations, you've made it this far. Now choose your surname. And I'm like, but my name is Duke. Duke is the, like, if you're going to make us choose a second name, you need to tell us that. They're like, choose your first name now, because later you're going to choose a second name. Then I'd be like, okay, I can make this decision better. But they didn't warn me. So I ended up being named Duke. And, well, you're right. I'll bring it back. I do plan on doing some more episodes of Mount and Blade, or I'm going to stream it eventually. I think it's a good game for streaming. So I feel like that may be what you see me play Mount and Blade next, would be probably on a live stream. I just feel like it's more suited for that. But it is a great game. I enjoy it a lot, and it makes me happy that I'll be honest, the videos were just like okay. It's not like they're the best of the series that I've done by a long shot, which is fine. It's not a big deal. But it does make me happy that a lot of people do respond and clearly enjoyed it, and I did too. So I'm gonna play it. So thank you for bringing it up, old Duke. Next question: what is your favorite but weirdest food combination? Well, sometimes I struggle knowing what's weird and what's not. Like I think something is commonplace for everyone, and then I've discovered that it wasn't. And then I have everyone looking at me like a crazy person. That's happened before. But, probably for me, I'm a big fan of milk and cornbread. And, yes, I mean just like a glass of milk and real Southern cornbread, not the Jiffy bread, not the crap that's sweet and is like, no, I'm sorry. If you like it, I'm sorry. I just can't eat it. Not when you've had like good cornbread. Mm-mm. Good Southern cornbread made in a cast iron skillet, glass of milk, cut your piece, put it in the glass, eat it. Thank me later. Just try it before you knock it. Okay? Trust me. All right? Just trust me. It's good. Funny story relating to cornbread that did end up with everyone looking at me like I was crazy was I remember we were in the locker room and Shayna was reading on her phone. She had looked up the lyrics of like some sort of obscure Disney song, okay? And she was reading the lyrics, and it was like this very old-timey language, and she was laughing as she's reading the lyrics. And she got stuck, right? Like, I'm changing, and I hear her reading these lyrics, and she's stuck on this word. And she's like, got my corn and she's just struggling, a corn and I'm like, listening, and I'm like, what are you trying to say? And I finally, like, I set my stuff down. She's struggling. I set my stuff down. I'm like, a corn pone, Shayna? A corn pone? You don't know what a corn pone is? You never heard of a corn pone? A pone of cornbread? And, like, I go off like this, right? I say this to her, and I look to everyone else for, like, you know, like, yeah, like, you've never heard of that? And what I got was a bunch of wide eyes and crickets looking at me, and I was like, really, guys? No one else knows corn pone? Okay, I guess it's just me. Oh. And that's how I learned that not everyone knew what a corn pone was. So, but now you know, you can look it up, it's a thing. But yeah, so next question: what is your favorite holiday? I don't know that I have a favorite holiday, because here's the thing with me and holidays. As a fighter, my schedule, everything took a back seat to training. Everything. Holidays, family functions, everything. And so I kind of just got used to, like, not getting caught up in, like, oh, I've got to celebrate this holiday. Even my own birthday, I can't tell you how many times it's like, we'll celebrate it, like, later. Like, when I have a free day, we can do something. Like, it's just a day. I was always like, it's just a day. It's not, you know, there's no reason I need to celebrate this thing on this day. At least not for me. I love any excuse to go visit my family. I love Christmas time. You know, I enjoy, like, when I go back home and if it's snowing and, like, Christmas morning and having a warm cup of coffee and just, like, I love it. Like, I love it so much. The atmosphere and just the cooking. My family is just amazing at cooking, and so I get all these incredible meals. So, like, I love that time of year for that reason, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's, like, the holiday specifically that makes me love it so much. Like, any excuse to visit home, so whatever holiday that happens to be on, And then otherwise, like, that's about it. Like I said, even my own birthday, I kind of was just like, like over the years, like I've had to miss it and not celebrate stuff so many times that I don't know, it doesn't even bother me anymore. So nowadays, it's really more about like, I need an excuse to go like visit my family or something. That's what makes me love a holiday. What MMA or WWE match was my most favorite? My favorite MMA fight that I ever had was me versus Raquel Pennington on The Ultimate Fighter Season 18. And we won Fight of the Season for that fight. It was great. It's not a fight I won, but it didn't really even matter. Like, it doesn't change anything as far as, like, what I took from that experience. So it was just such a wild thing to experience fighting in that way, to have such, like, I always wanted like a blood and guts fight. I wanted some, like, a war. Like, I said it. I honestly, I think I like manifested it because I just was always, every interview I was like, I want a war. Why? I don't know. Why would I want that? I don't know, but I did. And then I had one and I'm like, yeah. And then I was like, you know what? I'm good. Like, that's brutal. And it's a crazy experience to share with someone. It definitely bonds you. Like, I think you get a lot of, like, there's a lot of stuff that you get from a fight that I think people don't necessarily realize right away. But there's definitely a really unique connection that you form with the person that you shared the ring with when you have a fight like that. And that was a big one for me. Very life-changing for me. And I'm really proud of myself in that fight. You know, I was way out of my league. Like, way out of my league. I had no business being there. Like, I got there on just sheer determination and grit. And, like, you know, I was just like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing it. And nobody believed in me more than me. And so to be able to go in and fight like that, and it was a crazy experience. Like, you know, the big thing now is like this performing in front of no crowd. Like, we were doing that on The Ultimate Fighter. You literally fought. Like, just like the most intense thing you can do with another human, in my opinion. You do it in front of your teammates and a camera crew, basically, and that's it. And Dana White, like, that's it. That was it. Being able to hear every noise, being able to hear the person breathing, just crazy, like crazy. So I love that fight. I love it. I love showing it to people, and I think sometimes when I show it to people, they think I'm showing it to them because I won, like they're expecting me to win. And then when I lose, they look at me like, you said this is your favorite. And I'm like, it is. Can't you tell? Like, look at me. So yeah, that's my favorite fight. Very proud of that one. And what was my favorite match so far? My favorite match so far happened on a house show. And it was a 4-way tag team elimination match. And it was so much fun. And on top of that, I think Marina and I had less than 10 matches total at the time when we had this match. And I was just like so overwhelmed and so like, oh God, like so nervous and so scared. But then like, it was just, I had so much fun. It was like, I think it was probably one of the first matches that I had where I came to the back and I was just like, oh my God, like, oh my God, like, it was so fun. It was so fun. And just, I think, you know, there being so many of us in the match, and it just worked. You know, sometimes matches like that can get messy and whatever, but it just worked. And there were so many funny moments. I was really proud of us all for how it turned out. And, like, it's a shame it just happened at a house show. I mean, and it might as well have never happened. There's footage of it somewhere that they have, but it will probably never see the light of day. But I was there. I lived it. It was great. And I will always remember it fondly. Next question is, what is your favorite cheat meal? And I'm new to your channel. Well, welcome. Good to have you here. I don't, listen, like, every day is cheat meal day for me, honestly. I struggle more with gaining good weight, gaining muscle, gaining size, maintaining size. Listen, this oven burns hot, all right? When I work out and train like I do, I burn calories. I burn everything. One of my favorite sayings that my mom always, I forget, she was quoting someone. I'll have to ask her who it was. I'll look it up. Was that if the oven is hot enough, it will burn anything. And like that is me, except that my oven is always just cranked up to the max. Like, that's why if I start doing anything, I just start sweating. Like, I'm going to be sweating by the end of this video. Trust me, I'm already sweating. You can probably already see it. It's just, I think it's like a byproduct of being an athlete. It's like, oh, we're being active, sweat. Like, I just, I don't know why. I don't know why it happens. And I honestly have to really focus on, like, getting enough calories and enough good fats and enough of whatever, all the macros. I need all of them, and I need a lot of them. And a lot of my friends kind of hate me for it because they can't eat like that. But they understand, and they support me, I think, begrudgingly. But I will eat a lot of stuff. Listen, I'm from Kentucky. I grew up with, delicious comfort food being fed to me every day, all day, every day. Come from a family of cooks and bakers. Just I love food so much. Anything that my family cooks can go on that list. But probably some of my favorite stuff would be like big ass breakfast. So you got like biscuits and gravy and like good gravy, like good sausage gravy. Love that. Fried chicken for breakfast. Oh my God. Like one of my favorite memories growing up as a child is like going to my mama's house and when in the morning, her getting up and just cooking this huge breakfast for everyone. Frying chicken in this big pan. And man, listen, when the chicken came out, like if you did not get to it, like it was gone. Like there was no like, oh, we'll save you. Like no, like you had to be there to get the good stuff. And I love it. Oh God, I love it so much. But like soups, casseroles, like you name it, like comfort food, like I want to eat it. I want to eat all of it. I love it. I know I'm lucky. And that's why I eat a lot of ice cream. If you go watch my other Q&A, I talk about it a lot. And there's a reason why. It's not just because people ask questions. It's because I really do. I eat it a lot. I'm very passionate about ice cream. I study film at universities. So I've got to ask, what's your favorite movie of all time if you have one? I don't really have one. I have never been a huge movie buff. I don't hate movies. Okay, first of all, don't be like, oh my God, she hates movies. She doesn't watch them ever. It's not really that. It's just I don't. How do I explain this? I kind of just like I watch movies and it goes into my brain and then I watch it and then it goes out. Like after I'm done watching it, I let it go and I don't really remember much. There's very few movies that that I've watched over and over or I really love. And that's just that's my fault. That's not because the movies aren't good. There's plenty of great movies out there that I would probably really enjoy. I definitely blame my fight career for like I was saying earlier, how everything took a back seat to fighting. And that includes stuff like movies and music and even video games. Like there was a huge gap of time where my only focus, my sole focus was fighting and my training in the fight camp and preparing for the fight coming up. And that was it. That's it. I was going to say, or something else, but no, it was literally preparing for the next fight. As soon as one was over, you're preparing for the next one. Even if you don't have it scheduled, you're preparing for it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't sit around and wait for the fight announcement. Like, it never stops. And so there was a lot of stuff like TV shows and movies, so much stuff that I've missed that I'm trying to get caught up on now. But it's also the trade-off of, like, there's a lot of new stuff. So it's like, I want to see the new stuff, but I also want to get caught up on the old stuff. So I'm always down for suggestions. I like getting suggestions from people if there's something you recommend. But maybe I'll think of something. There's definitely movies that I've loved. I'm not going to say that. Actually, you know what? You know what movie I've watched hundreds of times? And if for no other reason it can go on my favorite film list, would be The Land Before Time. That's right. Every day, I remember begging my mom to get the VHS out and play the movie, and just over and over. As soon as it was in, like, rewind that, put it right back in. Like, I want to watch it over and over and over and over. I loved The Land Before Time. So there. That's my favorite. I'm confident. I feel good with that selection. That's fair. Probably seen it like at least 200 times. Easily. Who was your favorite male and female wrestler back when you were a kid? Okay, so I did not watch wrestling growing up. Not seriously. I watched wrestling because my brother watched wrestling, and I distinctly remember the time that wrestling became important to me as a child, okay? Didn't care about it at all. I played some video games that was like some wrestling video games. Was kind of whatever about them. I basically wanted to do whatever my brother was doing, but I don't remember what show it was that he was watching, but the time changed from it like ended at 8, and the time was changing to where it was going to end at 9. All right, it was going to end at 9 o'clock at night. Now, I would always stay up and I would watch this, right? And at 8, I was a little kid. You know, I was like, I don't know, like young, like 6, 7, something like that, a little kid. And my bedtime the time that I was supposed to go to bed was like 8 o'clock, right? And so when that changed and it pushed back to 9 o'clock, my brother could stay up and watch it, but I couldn't because my bedtime was 8, right? And I was so upset. And I remember going to my mom and I had this like this proposal, you know? I was like, okay, listen, all right, I don't know, I'm 7 years old now, all right? I'm growing up. I think I can handle the other hour. And I really like this show. I really want to watch it. And if he can watch it, then I feel like I should be able to watch it too. And I convinced them to change my bedtime to 9 o'clock so that I could watch the show. My favorite wrestler, though, from that era, and always in the video games that I would always choose, was Sting. I don't know why. I have no clue why. Maybe it was the face paint. Maybe it was some of the moves he did in the video games. I can't really remember why I was so obsessed with Sting. But he was like the go-to during that time. But it's so weird because I was just like, I was just like, I am only interested in this because I would like to stay up later. And so I got really serious about it. And then I didn't watch wrestling for a long time. I didn't watch wrestling until I met Shayna. When we met officially, well, not officially, we met officially at Invicta FC 2, but I would say that we really became friends on The Ultimate Fighter because you're locked in a house together for 7 weeks. So it wasn't until I met Shayna and that we became roommates that I started watching wrestling again as an adult. And it was so different than I remembered. Like, so different. And it was just, it took me a while to like kind of get caught up because I think what was in my mind was one thing. And I didn't really have any like preconceived notions. I didn't hate wrestling. I just was like, I watched it when I was a kid and that was it. I just moved on. I was doing other things. So it was kind of cool. So Probably Sting, obviously. And for the female wrestler, the only one I remember was China. I only remember China. So I guess she would have to be, you know, my favorite female childhood wrestler by default, because she's the only one I can remember. Favorite PS2 games? Mine are The Bouncer and Unreal Tournament. If you haven't played them, they're awesome. So, another fun fact, I did not own a PlayStation until we were on the Ultimate Fighter, and Ronda won the Coaches Challenge that won all of us. She won the whole team. We all got like this $1,500 bonus and a PS4. And they were brand new at the time, or relatively new. So I was not like a big PlayStation person. It wasn't that I was like Xbox loyal. Xbox was just what I got. I remember the original Xbox was the first console that I got that was just mine. Not my brother's. I didn't have to share it with anyone. It was just mine. And so I was very partial to the Xbox. I didn't hate the PlayStation. I did miss out on a lot of the games because they were exclusive, especially back then. I feel like there were even more exclusives and splits. So there was a lot of stuff that I missed. And I tried when I played the PS2 to go back and hit some of the exclusives and play some of the games that I always heard a lot of stuff about. I love it. Nowadays, I own both. I feel like until they basically merge into one super console, which is what I'm hoping for, because I'm sick of buying every freaking console that exists just to play all the games. But I will, because I want to play the games and I can't stand not having it. Like, oh, it bothers me. You know, it bothers me. So I have to have them all. But I have played Unreal Tournament. I enjoy it. It's not like one of my favorite games ever. A good game though, for sure. And I've never heard of The Bouncer, so that's an interesting one. I'll check it out. Thank you. Favorite UK city? Well, I've never been to the UK. It's one of the places that I would like to go. I would like to visit. I feel like there's a lot of places in the UK that I would enjoy seeing. I don't know. You got any recommendations? I haven't been there. I said in my last video, I do really want to go to Wales. I would like to go visit. It's a place that I can just tell that I would enjoy. But as far as other places in the UK, I don't know. I would love to go every year when they have Download Fest. I want to go. I've asked to go every time, and I just haven't got to go yet. So yeah, I'll get around. I'll get there. Let me know. Let me know what your favorite UK city is. I'm curious to hear. Hello! Who was your first wrestler that you identified with and why? So, I will say, as I said earlier, I didn't really watch wrestling as a kid. Okay, I can't really justify that and say that. But as an adult, like I said earlier, so as an adult, when I met Shayna, I started watching it again, and I really have to give her credit for doing a really good job of reintroducing me to wrestling, but putting a filter over it that I could relate to with MMA and fighting and the stuff that I was familiar with. She did a really good job of like finding wrestlers to be like, you should watch this guy, you should watch this guy, you should watch this girl. And I will say, two of the names that initially she directed me to watch their matches was one Kyle O'Reilly, that you may be familiar with, and the other was Bryan Danielson. And obviously, if you can guess, it was because of their MMA background and their style. There was just like, to me, so much crossover that I wasn't expecting. Like seeing them wrestle, I think in my mind I'm expecting like Sting, like I saw when I was a kid, and then she shows me this like Kyle O'Reilly match from PWG, and I'm like what? Like this is happening like this? Like, oh god, it was great. And so it was a good, like both of those guys were good for me to kind of like wake me up to the changes that were happening in pro wrestling, at least from my perspective. Okay, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people that are like, oh, it was always like that, and there's this guy, and it was older, and it was before them. Absolutely. But because of their background with MMA, I don't know, it resonated with me. I definitely identified more with that. And so watching them, it was an easy hook. one of my favorite storylines, the storyline that hooked me. Because we would do this. We would watch every week, every single week. When we lived in the Venice house, with the Four Horsemen, we all lived together. We were in the Venice house. Every week we would watch wrestling. And Shayna would turn it on and have it on in the living room. But it was like, you kind of half watch it, or you're there, but you're not really watching it. And I'm hearing a lot of stuff, and I'm passively watching it, right? And she starts, talking about Daniel Bryan, and I'm watching him. And it wasn't until the storyline where he got absorbed into to the Wyatt family, and he was wearing coveralls, and he wasn't talking, and he had this blank face. And the moment in the cage when he took off the coveralls and he had his gear on underneath and he did the freaking yes chant, I was done. I was like, okay, I'm on board. I'm here for this. I can do this. Because it was, it's like I got it suddenly. I was like, oh my God. For months I've watched this and it frustrated me so much. I was so mad because I'm like, ugh. I love Daniel Bryan. I hate that he's doing this. It's so stupid. I hate this. I want him to wrestle. I don't like what's happening. It made me so mad. And I didn't realize how much it would pay off to go through that for weeks, months. I don't remember how long that went. It was a while though. To finally get to that moment, I was just this is amazing. And it hooked me. It literally, it hooked me. I was just like, okay. And then every week, now I have to watch. Now I got to see what the next storyline is going to be. Now I got to see what they're going to do next. Because now it's like I said, I got it suddenly. It just clicked. So that hooked me. Those are big ones for me. Let's see. Hey, Jay Duke. So my question is, how do you stay motivated with training/fitness when you get thoughts of doubt or not being good enough at what you're doing? Any advice you could throw my way, as it's something I'm dealing with whilst working toward becoming a personal trainer? Thanks, Jess. Great use of the word whilst, though. Go ahead and say that. Yeah, listen, that's totally normal. And I was talking about this in one of my streams the other day, and I think it applies to anything you do. I don't think it has to be specific to training or fitness or, even physical stuff in general. I think anything that you are trying to do, you're trying to be good at it, you're trying to hone a skill, it takes consistency. That was a thing I've noticed throughout my entire life. No matter what career I'm pursuing, no matter what my job is, no matter what my hobbies are, if I want to get good at it, it takes consistency, time and consistency. And so I try to always find little life hacks to help myself be consistent. I think that a list is extremely useful. My sister is a big list person, and she has always helped me. When I start getting really overwhelmed by stuff, or just whatever, she's like, make a list. And when you make a list, it's it just, even when there's so much on the list, it's even just crossing off one or two things, it just feels good. And you're like, okay, I am making progress. I am heading in the direction that I need to go. Consistency and time. It doesn't happen overnight. Nothing does, except for when it does, and then you got to be ready for it. So that's where the consistency pays off, because it's all about reps. No matter what you're doing, you're gonna have days that are good, and you're gonna have days that are bad. As far as working out and stuff goes, I have always felt even the days that I dread working out, I have never regretted working out. Sometimes it's hard, it's miserable, but I'm always happy when I'm done. And I think that's important. I think that's an important quality, is to be able to just buckle down and do what you need to do. And that goes the same for a list. You make the list, you're committed to doing something, something. It doesn't mean you have to do everything on the list in one day,
but do something. And if you can look at it and be like, yes, I did something, then you're good. That's all. That's literally like, that's it. I think it's cheesy to be like, just keep your head up and be positive, because that's not realistic. Nobody's positive 100% of the time. And I think it's more important to learn how to like ride the waves of this stuff than it is to try to convince yourself that if you're not happy all the time, that you're doing something wrong. I think if you're going through these emotions and you're struggling with these things, it means you're doing something right. It means that you are putting a lot of effort into this, and you obviously care about it a lot, because if you're struggling with it and you're questioning yourself, like, you care. That's a huge first step. A lot of people don't care about anything that much. I think that's why a lot of people become content and they find a safe job with a safe life, and they get comfortable, and then they want to maintain, and for some people that's great. Like, that's great. If that's what they want, amazing. For me, I have always, I feel like I'm on this pursuit that doesn't really have a finish line. I don't see it as there's a goal somewhere that I'm trying to get to. It's more like I'm on this journey, and I want as many parts of the journey to be as beneficial and fun as possible. I will say this. I have always believed that if you follow what makes you happy, like I said, no, you're not going to be happy 100% of the time. But when you do something and it genuinely makes you happy, keep doing it. Do more of that. Gravitate towards that. Gravitate towards the things that you enjoy, and that you're passionate about. I don't understand trying to force yourself to do something that you already hate. Not saying you do, but it's what's always kind of kept me on track. It's like, if I love this, I am going to work hard at it. And that's how I've felt about everything I've done. It's how I felt about fighting. It's how I felt when I started streaming. I was like, you know what? I love this. So it was like 2015-ish, I think, when I started streaming. And I started doing it, and I was like, this channel is small. Like, it's not viable for me to do this as a career right now. But I love it, and I'm having fun. And yes, it's hard. And yes, some days I get frustrated. And yes, I feel overwhelmed, and I'm like, maybe I'm not so good at it. But then when I would do it, I'm like, actually, I love this. And I was just like, you know what? Like, follow that. Like, keep following that. And I did, and it's always paid off. And it was the same with wrestling. Like, it wasn't like a goal that I was like, I'm going to do this. It was like, I had an opportunity. I got exposed to something. And when I did it, I was like, you know what? This is really fun. Like, I don't need to think, I don't need to overthink it. I don't need to have like this 5-year plan written out and know exactly what I'm doing and where I'm going with this. What I know is right now, this is working for me. And yes, it was hard. And yes, some days it sucked. And yes, there were days like I was like not looking forward to getting in the ring or whatever. But the overall general consensus of how I felt was that I'm having a blast. And I think as long as as long as I felt that way, I'm like, I don't think I can be too far off track. And the times in my life where I've really felt off track was when I didn't love anything I was doing. And that's when I really became miserable. And it didn't take long for me to be like, all right, we gotta, get back on track, because this is not how I want to live my life. So that was a lot. I don't know if that, if that helps you necessarily. Maybe something in that rant you can apply. I hope so. But I'd say you're doing the right things. I'd say you're already on track and you don't even know it. That's how I feel about it. Does it make it any harder wrestling or fighting flat-footed? Excuse me? Are you calling me flat-footed? Well, it's true. I kind of am flat-footed. I don't know if you meant that necessarily that way, but I'm quite flat-footed, as a matter of fact. When I was younger, I
I got really into the toe shoes because I used to roll my ankles all the time. And someone told me, like, oh, if you wear these shoes, it'll, like, strengthen your feet and you'll actually build an arch. Like, you can develop an arch. And I'm like, what? I got to try it. I got to do it. And I did. And then my feet, like, it was like I could feel all the little muscles in my feet building up. And I got really into the barefoot training. So I went from, like, the shoes to doing barefoot training and just, I was all about this stuff. And I didn't really build an arch. That never really happened. But I did stop rolling my ankles, and my legs did get a lot stronger, and my calves look amazing. So I definitely benefited from it. So, yes, in answer to your question, it does make it harder. I think if you're lumbering around on flat feet, you're not going to have very good footwork, okay? That's not going to help you out very much. And I think if you're flat-footed, you're slower. And that's not, you don't want to be slow. So, yes. I'm not insecure about my flat feet or anything, so whatever. Shut up. The question is, what do you prefer more, gaming or MMA? Well, that's actually quite an easy question, because, and I've said it many times before, of all the things that I have done, of all the passions that I have had in my life, the one that I have been passionate about the longest is gaming. I have been a gamer since before I can remember. I loved video games, and I always have. I think I always will. So it's a clean sweep for gaming in this one. Will you do a gaming video with Dakota soon? Y'all should play Animal Crossing. Maybe. I don't see why not. It's a thing. We would both like to do it, I think. However, we would not play Animal Crossing. Trust me. You want us to play something more exciting than that. The most fun I think I ever had gaming with Dakota was when we were playing Far Cry 5. You could do co-op on that, and oh my god, that was so much fun. It completely changed Far Cry 5 for me, because I was like, it's good. It's a good game. It's okay. Playing it co-op, I'm like, this is an amazing game. It was just so much better. It completely changed it to be co-op. And she's hilarious. Like, she's like me. She's like, her reactions, like, she's crazy. So, like, when, you give her a flamethrower and it's, like, the best. That's the kind of game you want to see us play. Trust me. So, yeah, I don't see why not. Perhaps in the future we can collaborate. Isn't that what all the tubers do these days? Let's see. Next question. Not sure if you have been asked this, but what is the hardest thing that you found about the transition from MMA to pro wrestling? Well, I did kind of touch on this earlier, but if I was going to expound on it slightly, I would say this is not necessarily related to MMA or pro wrestling directly, but just in any transition of careers. What I found difficult was being able to close the chapter on one book and knowing that you're going to open the chapter for a new book, but you're starting at the very beginning. And I think I've always been extremely self-aware, and I just knew that it's like I'm going into something that I know almost nothing about. I did not delude myself into thinking that I knew more than I did, or I did not just assume that this was going to be easy for me. If anything, I assumed it was going to be much harder than I would be able to do. I wasn't very confident, and it was hard for me to close that last chapter, to be like, I'm going to do something that I'm not even very confident that I can do. But I also had a great opportunity in front of me, and I have always felt like the ability to say yes to opportunities is like a superpower. I don't think that it's lack of opportunities that is the problem. I think it's the inability to say yes to the opportunities that are in front of you, or to even see them. Sometimes I think people are so blind to the opportunities in front of them that they couldn't say yes if they wanted to, because it's like they've just already got it in their mind, and it's hard to, like,
I don't know what I'm trying to say exactly, but it was difficult for me because I knew that it was going to be hard. That's really what it was. I knew it was going to be really hard, and that was scary. And there was no guarantee of success. So once I did, I was good because it was like, now I'm committed. Like, now I'm going. I have closed this chapter and I opened this chapter. I was fine. But getting to that point was very difficult for me. Have you ever been to a haunted house with your friends? Yes, I have. Every year we go to Halloween Horror Nights here at Universal, and it is so much fun. I love it so much, except for when they chase me with the chainsaws. I'm not a fan of the scare zones with the guys with the chainsaws. I don't like it. I want them to leave me alone. But I do enjoy a good haunted house. It's like riding a roller coaster. Like, I hate heights, but I like roller coasters. I don't know. I hate being scared, but I like haunted houses. I don't know. I can't explain it. I'm not a psychologist. Have you ever watched anime? Barely. Not a ton. I don't hate it. In fact, every time I watch it, I'm like, actually, this is great. I'm really into this. I think the first anime I ever watched was Hajime no Ippo. It took me a second. And it's because it was about boxing. Shayna showed it to me because she loved it. And again, it was like the pro wrestling thing. She found something that was like, this is a thing that like you'll be able to identify with. And I did. I thought it was really good. And I loved that I could tell that the people who wrote it really trained in a boxing gym because a lot of the jokes that were made and the scenarios that came up were things that really happened. And it was fun to see. So I enjoyed that one. Otherwise, only a handful of episodes here and there randomly that I've watched with people before. I don't think I've ever watched a full season of anything else. I have seen some Attack on Titan and it was okay. I did watch a couple episodes of one called Tokyo Ghoul, which was actually, I liked that one. It was cool. It was like a scary, dark one with an interesting story. I got into that one, but I never finished it. I'm trying to think. I feel like there were some others randomly thrown in there, but it's hard when like you don't watch the whole story and you don't really have sometimes the context for everything else. I feel like if I didn't have someone there to like help me, like Shayna did with Hajime no Ippo, then it's just hard. It's just hard for me. But I do like it. I think I mean, like I said, I don't hate it. Again, it's more like that whole thing of like, I missed out on a lot of TV shows and movies and other stuff. I feel like that was one of them. It's like I just never like got into any of them. But I'm open to suggestions. So let me know if there's any like really good ones that if I had to watch like one, what would you suggest? Suggest. Please send me your suggestions. How did you know that fighting was the sport for you? I knew that I wanted to be a fighter as soon as I got out of the ring of my very first fight, which was a Muay Thai fight, and it happened in Arkansas, and I fought another girl from Kentucky who I was clearly being brought in to lose to. She had far more fights than me. She had like a couple championships even. She had won a couple tournaments, and this was all Muay Thai. This was not MMA. I did Muay Thai first, and I was debuting. I'd never fought ever. Never. Like, I'd never had a single fight. All I had done was a handful of grappling tournaments. And most of my training, it was divided. I was doing grappling, and I was doing MMA, and I was doing Muay Thai. And the only fights that I could find were Muay Thai fights. And finding MMA fights for women were so difficult. And even when you did find them, getting them to actually come to fruition was even more difficult. Because it's like every step, man, it was like you just risked losing the fight. I have literally been like waiting to walk out and my opponent would leave. I've got family here. I've got friends here. Like, I've driven a long way. I've trained for weeks for this. It's all amateur. There's no consequences. There's no backlash when they do that. They're just like, I don't feel like doing it. And then they leave. And it was so frustrating. for so long. And so I took Muay Thai fights because I felt like they were more reliable. I don't know, I felt like MMA, like, I didn't feel like as many people took it seriously. Whereas Muay Thai was like, I would have to drive further sometimes to compete, but I felt like it was like they took it a little bit more seriously. It was like more respectful. I don't know, that's just the word. That's how it felt. Like, it just felt like a more respectful bubble to be competing in. And I drove to Arkansas. I fought this other girl. It's crazy. We both were from Kentucky. We both drove to Arkansas to fight each other in a gymnasium in front of, like, I don't know, maybe 20 people. In fact, that fight is on my YouTube channel. I uploaded it. I have it. It's great. I think it's great. And I won. I beat her. And she was not happy about it. And it was a hard fight. But the second it was over and I got out of the ring, I just knew that I had to do this. I had to. Once was not enough. I needed more. I wanted to be better. I wanted to learn more. And it's like I could see the whole world suddenly and how I could conquer it using this. Like, it was just like an addiction of another level. I've never experienced a high like winning a fight. I don't think that there is one, manufactured or otherwise, that can touch what that really feels like. So, you want to talk about a heavy addiction, that was it. So yeah, you can see it. It's crazy. It's funny now thinking of it, like that was the moment. That was the fight. And you guys can watch that right now on my YouTube channel. You should. It's good. I'm proud of it. It was my very first fight. I think it was like 2008. It's good stuff. It really was. I'm very proud of it. How many games have you played? I have played around 200 something and lost count. Yeah, I have no idea. A lot. So many. Good God. I think I have easily more than 200 games in my Steam library alone, let alone what's on my consoles. So many. Way more than 200 though, okay? Way more. How are you? How's your day going? Also, thanks for doing what you're doing. It's fun, and to be honest, it's really inspiring. Thank you. That's very sweet, and I appreciate that. Sincerely, I really do. I'm good. I feel great, and my day has been fantastic. I've gotten a lot done, and now I'm doing this, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So thanks. Thanks for supporting me. It's very sweet. If you could go to any place in Thailand, where would it be? I would love to go and train in Thailand. So I would want to arrange some training with some of the gyms out there. And I know I have friends, and even, trainers who live out there or who go out there all the time. Caitlin Young spent a lot of time out there, and I'm sure she would know several places that would be great for me to train. But a place I've actually always wanted to just like go for vacation, when I have looked at pictures of Phuket, it looks amazing. Like, I would love to just go on vacation there and go and, lay on those beaches that look incredible. The landscape there blows my mind, and I think it's so unique, and I would love to go and visit. If you weren't a wrestler, what else would you be doing? Streaming or being essentially what I'm doing, being a YouTuber. I am a tuber now. I said that all along when I was always streaming. I'm like, this is my retirement plan. This is it. It really is. It's always been that way. When I discovered it, I was like, yep, this is it. And even when I got signed by NXT and I started working, and I knew that it would have to take a back seat for a little while and I needed to focus on my training, I still have always said, like, it's my retirement plan, okay? It's not going anywhere. I can always do it, and that's what's great about it. I can do it anywhere. It doesn't matter how old I am. Like, it's great, and I'll always have the stuff. So I'm just certain that is exactly what I would be doing. So you guys are basically getting it. You're basically getting it right now. Hope you're ready to do this, for the rest of my life. Who is someone that has helped you learn the ropes in WWE? Well, so many people, to be fair. And I don't want to leave anyone out. And it is fair to say a lot of people have helped me and given me advice, and been there for me when I had questions and given me the heads up on stuff that I would have otherwise never known. But at the top of the list, gotta be Natty has to be one of the top people that has helped me a lot. She came out to LA and she would train with me and Ronda in a freaking storage unit in the hot LA weather and come in there and just train for hours. Like a beast, like an animal. You want to talk about inspiring? Like, my God. And I knew that Natty was a beast because she had previously come to train with us, with me and Shayna, in MMA. She came to our fight practice and trained with us. And listen, she was that, like, she did more than just hang with us, okay? Like, she kicked ass. And it was like, okay, like, damn. Like, all right, I can respect that. And then when we talked about, like, wanting to start wrestling and we started training, she was so supportive and just wanted to help and was, like, working and doing pay-per-views and traveling. And then she would, like, fly to LA and land super early and come and train with us for, like, 3 hours in a storage unit and then, go to the airport and then go wrestle that night and somewhere else. And it's, like just insane. Like, she went above and beyond to make herself available. And just more than just the training, just even being available to talk to or give advice, made such a huge difference. And I can never really repay her for that. But other people too, obviously Shayna. Like, Shayna helped me a lot. Not just in, like, helping me become a wrestling fan and helping me along that path, but even when I got signed and helping me and being there for me. Like, she saved me so many mistakes. So many things that I would have made the wrong decision about. She helped me. And having someone be that kind of friend, man, it's so amazing. And then also, I gotta say, Mia Yim has helped me a lot and mentored me and been there for me. And she has, like, since the day that we met, she has always been supportive and I don't know, I'm very lucky to have such good friends. And fun fact, Dakota Kai was the producer for my very first ever PC show match. So I feel like all my friends, all the BRE have had a very special hand in my wrestling career. And that's pretty neat. You know, that's special, and it makes me really happy, actually, to even talk about it. Thank you for asking that. Being from a small town in Kentucky, go Big Blue, oh yeah. When I moved to Florida, it was a huge adjustment. Did you face the same thing when you moving and training in California, or was it seamless? Well, it wasn't seamless, I can tell you that. It was sudden and jarring, and I felt like I was being ripped away from everything. I felt like I was a tree that had these deep roots in a place, and I was just suddenly being ripped out and trying to plant somewhere else, and I was really worried that it wasn't going to happen. So it was not seamless, not by a long shot. It was uncomfortable, it was unpleasant, but in my life I have found that when I feel that way, it's usually because it's because I'm getting outside my comfort zone. And when I've gotten outside my comfort zone, it's been for the best. It's ended up helping me, and being able to, like, go through that phase of just being uncomfortable and working through it. It's why it worked, you know? Did that make sense? I'm not really sure if it did. I traveled a lot growing up. It wasn't like I was sheltered or had never been outside the state or had never been in a big city before. Like, I traveled, I'd seen stuff, and I don't know, it wasn't shock in that way. It was just, visiting places is one thing. Living there is something else entirely. And it was just scary, you know? It was just really scary. But now, now, I feel like I feel like these routes, now that I've done it, I'm like, okay, all right, I understand. Like, it's going to feel uncomfortable and unpleasant anytime I move. It always is. When I moved from California to Florida, I was like, I remember, like, wanting to cry as I was driving away, and, like, I wanted to come to Florida. You know, it wasn't even like I didn't want to go, but it just still made me feel that way. And I'm like, it's that same thing again. It just doesn't matter. You've dropped roots somewhere, and you feel like you're being torn out. Like, it makes you uncomfortable. But I've learned to, like, not fear that feeling. And now I've experienced it enough times that it's like, oh, this is familiar. Like, it's still uncomfortable, but it's familiar. So I'm like, I know what's up. I know what's going on. I can handle this. And I feel like you can too. This will be nerdy, but which do you prefer? Nutella or peanut butter? Oh, easy. Peanut butter. Nutella's great, but if I had to choose one, peanut butter all the way. It's far more versatile. It's everything. And also, I can't really justify Nutella as, like, healthy. But for someone like me that needs a lot of calories and fat and, needs all those macros, peanut butter is great. And it's like a staple in my pantry, is a big ass jar of peanut butter. Because sometimes it's like, I don't feel like eating anything, but I need sustenance. Peanut butter always hits the spot. Next question. Is there any chance that you could play Minecraft on your channel? Possibly. I like Minecraft. I've played it a little bit. I've never gotten super deep into it, but I have played it a few times, and I really like the hardcore mode. That's the one I always play. That's where I'm like, this is a game I could get into, is the hardcore mode. It's a survival game. The graphics don't really bother me. Like, I don't mind that they're, that they are what they are. I like it. I think that's the style. So that's not an issue. It's just I play so much other stuff. And I do love survival games, but I usually end up playing other ones. And just, it's like, I'll load up Minecraft because I'm like, I'm in the mood to play this. And then I'll play it for like a couple days. And then I'll be like, oh, this makes me want to play this other survival game. This other survival building game. That's always how it goes. But it's possible. I won't never say never. I might be open to that. Especially if a lot of people wanted it. This is a good one. How powerful do you kick someone's back in NXT? Let me tell you something right now. As hard as I can. Raw or SmackDown? Both. But Raw. Who do you think would win in a submission match? Shayna or Ronda? Give me a minute. Shayna.
Who do you think would win a submission match? Shayna or Ronda? Depends on what's on the line. I do have a funny story, though. We're on The Ultimate Fighter for 7 weeks. And Jess can attest to this, and Ronda on video that you can look up, there's a video interview, like, about the 4 Horsewomen, and they're like, which Ninja Turtle is each person? Which, all these characters from movies, right? TV shows, whatever. And at the beginning, she's introducing us. And she's like, Jess is my best striking partner because she's long and she punches and kicks. And Marina's my best judo partner because they did judo together since they were kids. And Shayna's my best grappling partner. Like, we tend to go pretty even when we're wrestling. Jess can attest to that. She's seen it. Mm-hmm. But this is a story. We were on The Ultimate Fighter for 7 weeks. We trained every single day, twice a day, and that was the only thing we had to look forward to. There was nothing in the house, no entertainment, no books, no music, no magazines, no computers, no TVs. It was horrible. And training every day, twice a day. We're on the last training session. Like, the show's wrapping up. We know it. We're all antsy because it was like The Shining. You know what I mean? Everybody's going crazy, just being locked up. And we're rolling. Ronda and I are grappling. And it's like the last training session. The show's going to be over. We get to go home. And we're grappling. And I look at the clock, and rounds are like 5 minutes. Like, that's generally, you grapple for 5 minutes. I don't know, different training protocols, but I think these rounds in particular were 5 minutes switch. Doesn't really matter. All that matters is I look at the clock, and there's 2 minutes left. And I was like, well, Ronda Rousey, looks like I made it through the entire season without getting armbarred by you. And in the next 2 minutes, I got armbarred probably 7 times. 7 or 8 times.
I remember.
So, yeah, that's a story. But,
we had been training for 7 weeks, though. We were worn down by that time, okay?
all I'm saying
To be
is,
fair.
it really would depend on what's on the line. And the rule set, and a lot of factors. But Ronda will tell you I was one of her best and favorite grappling partners.
Next question. Ooh, this is a long one. This is about the Assassin's Creed Valhalla hype. I've obviously got fighting skill, got some crazy love for the Viking-centered game coming up. As we saw, also, a warning for anybody that might be watching that. I get pretty hype, to say the least. Has this nerdy athlete had any sword training or classic battle training? And would you want to learn if you haven't? I'll answer this one first before I go on to part 2. I have. I spent actually many, many years training just the weapons arts. If you guys are familiar with Bruce Lee's best friend, Dan Inosanto, I trained under Guru Dan for many years, all over the country. I flew and drove all over the country to train with him. And it was specifically for the Filipino weapons arts, specifically Kali. I did a lot of training in, and just years. And I always said, if I could only learn one art, if I was limited to one martial art, it would probably be Kali, because it had so many different parts to it. You have a different section for all these different weapon types, but then as well as empty-handed. But what I loved was they all still functioned off of a basic understanding of footwork and angles, and I loved and was so into the coordination that was required. And it felt like not only was I training my body, I was getting physical hand-eye coordination and speed and footwork, but my brain was just pushed to the max, trying to keep up with these drills. Because it's sometimes people watch, I think they will watch a demo of some stick fighting stuff, and they're like, well, you're never gonna fight like that. And you're right for the most part. You're not. It doesn't mean the training is useless, and it doesn't mean that it's not functional, and you can still apply it to a lot of things. But I always felt like it was one of the more complete martial arts, and I loved it. I loved training it, and actually, it wasn't that long ago, I pulled out the sticks with Shayna, and we started doing some of the drills, and I was like, man, I miss this. I've also done some of the Viking training with Sarah Logan and Eric. You guys may know him as Eric from the Viking Raiders. They do legit Viking training, modern day Viking training. Weapons, I've gone to some of their events. They are amazing. I felt like it was like finding a bunch of kindred spirits. I was just like, oh my God, I love it. And they set up, what I like about them is they study the ancient arts, and then they try to apply them in a modern way. You know, I think they try to extrapolate stuff from what they're learning to where it's you know how certain traditional martial arts, they never evolved past the ancient art, and it kind of makes them obsolete. And I feel like what the Vikings have done is like they're essentially evolving their own art. They're taking the base of it, and then they're applying it with actual training and drills and live battles, and really developing and creating something completely new and different, while also just being straight up Viking badassery. And I love that stuff. It was great. It was great. And I want to do more of it. Part 2 of this question. Can I do any other accents? I'd make a badass shield maiden, but you just can't picture it with the Kentucky in me. That's unfortunate. I would love to be known as the hillbilly Viking. Maybe I can pull it off. I don't know. Maybe it's never been done before. Maybe that's why somebody should do it. Just saying. Just a thing to think about. But yes, the answer to that question is yes, I can do a lot of different accents. What's a thought that you've never had? Are unsolicited gaming tips during streams on your top 10 most annoying things? Yes, they are. In fact, unsolicited advice or coaching of any sort is a huge pet peeve of mine. And while I may be a little sensitive to it, like, I feel like sometimes people are like, it's not that big of a deal, they're just trying to help. Which may be true, but just hear me out. Just try to see it from my perspective for a second. In every career that I've ever pursued in my life, some people have always felt compelled to offer their coaching and advice to you, despite them maybe knowing nothing about you, despite them maybe they have never met you before in their life. They still feel like they can offer you coaching. And it was always really annoying, I felt like, especially in fighting. It was just so obnoxious. And I felt like maybe it wasn't all of the time. I know it was some of the time because they said it. It was because I was a woman. They just assume you need the help. And so they'll start giving you advice. And it's like, you know, dude, I've been doing this longer than you. And also your advice is bad. Also, I didn't ask for it. Like, I say this all the time in my streams. I will ask for help when I need it. I have no problem asking for help. I think I'm actually a very good student. I think it's like one of, if I have like a really good skill, it's that I'm a good student. I'm good at learning stuff. I'm good at applying myself. I'm good at listening. And I get so offended when people just like take it upon themselves to force their opinion basically on you and give it to you as if like you need it. And it's like, I did not ask for this, you know, I did not. So it's really annoying. So I dealt with that a lot in fighting always. So I was kind of sensitive about it. It's like, listen, if you're not my coach or one of my teammates, like just don't. Like, go back and look through like the comments on any fighter, honestly, any fighter. After any fight or anything that they put out, just like so much coaching, so much armchair quarterbacking. It's exhausting. And it's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And also, this is not how you give that advice. Like, what professional athlete is going to legitimately take advice that they got from some random in an Instagram post? Like, it's just crazy to think about. But they will give you their opinion and they will give you that advice. And then they will get really upset if you don't want to hear it. And I think sometimes people just want to feel important. They want to feel like valued. They want to feel like they know something that someone else doesn't know. And I do think there are people out there that genuinely just want to help. But I feel like those people usually wait until asked, you know? And like I said, I have no problem asking. I'm absolutely there. And I actually do believe you can learn from almost anyone. I do. And listen, I've had to train with people that I'm like, I don't really like what they're teaching me. I don't really vibe with this, but I'm here, I'm training, let's try to get something from it. And so you can, but oof, like, it's the same in streaming when people want to come in and just start telling you what to do and telling you how to play the game and telling you how to do better. It's like, nobody cares. They don't. Nobody cares, especially me. But it's just obnoxious. I really don't like know-it-alls, and I feel like it's a very know-it-all thing to just want to be like, I know where the secret is. I know how the story goes. Spoilers, like, I hate that. I hate when people want to come in and be like, because I play a lot of games that require decisions, right? You make decisions and then there's consequences. I hate when people want to come in and it makes me want to not live stream games like that so that people don't do it. But I'm not going to let those people control me and what I do. But I do think about it because I hate when I'm like pondering a decision. Like, I think about it, and I feel like what I do when I play games, like, I think out loud, basically, is what I do. And I think it works because it's like it gives commentary, and I'm good at like taking off the filter and just saying what's on my brain. And so a lot of times I think out loud, and I go through the process of like how I'm going to make this decision. And nothing frustrates me more when while I'm going through that process, I just see my chat room. There's like one person in there who's like urging me to do the right decision when like that's not the point, you know? Also, like, God, it's just beyond obnoxious. And I hate it. And it just ruins the fun. And again, no one cares. No one cares. This may sound dumb, and I apologize. There's no dumb questions. Please don't apologize. But weren't you in the UFC? I swore I've seen you there. And if so, what happened? Hey, what happened? Well, so yes, you are correct. I was in the UFC. I was on The Ultimate Fighter. You might have seen me on season 18 of The Ultimate Fighter. You would remember it as the first season that women were a part of the show. Fun fact, Jessamine Duke, was the very first female to earn a spot in the Ultimate Fighter house. And that is the truth. I had first fight of the day. You had to fight to qualify to get into the house, and I was first. And I submitted Laura Howarth with a triangle in the first round, I believe. It was a good fight, actually. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, first female ever to earn a spot in the Ultimate Fighter house. So there you go. And I had 5 fights in the UFC. I wanted to fight for Invicta. I was still under contract with the UFC, but they were using me so infrequently, and I just was waiting a lot. And I wanted to fight. And so I asked to, I didn't want to be released, but I wanted to fight for Invicta, and I knew at the time, like, they were working together. The Invicta pay-per-views were showing on Fight Pass, and I was like, just let me fight for Invicta. Like, that's really what I want, and that's what I did. I fought out the rest of my fights for Invicta FC, and it was great. I loved it. It was exactly what I wanted. I got to fight a lot more, and then I started streaming, and then I got signed by NXT. So I feel like it was a good progression. I honestly wouldn't still want to be fighting in the UFC. I'm glad that I'm not. I love my life and where I've ended up. So that's what happened. What's the worst movie I've ever seen? That's easy. A movie called Monster Brawl. What would scare you the most? Nothing. No, that's not true. Actually, the thing that really gives me anxiety sometimes, and it scares me. I'm not afraid of the dark like some people, but occasionally I experience sleep paralysis, and I hate it. And I always have a fear, like, in the back of my mind that I won't be able to snap out of it. And if you don't know, sleep paralysis is where basically your brain is waking up. So when you're in a deep sleep, like a deep REM sleep, your body is essentially paralyzed, right? Like it keeps you from hurting yourself. Basically, it's a safety mechanism that your body is equipped with. So you're essentially paralyzed when you're in this deep sleep. But sleep paralysis happens when your brain starts to wake up and come out of this dream state, this sleep state. So your brain is awake, but your body has not caught up just yet. And you just experience being completely paralyzed, but being completely aware of it. And it's like, I always have a conversation with myself, like, you're dreaming, you know what's happening, you just need to wake up. And I sit there and, like, argue with myself until I eventually wake up, and I'm usually, like, just totally still. And then when I finally do wake up, it's like, I just, like, jerk so hard, because I'm trying. I'm, like, telling myself, I'm like, move your leg, move. Like, you can do it, just wake up. Like, you're just dreaming, it's fine, you're gonna wake up. And then that's it. And it's so unpleasant. I've never gotten trapped yet, but it is a fear, so I guess that counts. Out of all the horsewomen, who would die first in a horror movie? Well, we know the answer to this one. And the answer is me. Some of you may not know this, but myself and Shayna and Marina, we all had rather large roles in a little-known film called The Orphan Killer 2. Not to be mistaken for The Orphan Killer, the original. We were in the sequel, which I'm sure you can imagine was quite the hit. No, actually, it was awesome to be a part of. I'm making fun because it was very obscure, but it was so much fun. And it was this, like, just, like, low-budget horror film, and the people who were directing it and producing it, it was this husband and wife couple, and they had one camera, basically, and they brought us in, and we got to do fight scenes, and we got to do all kinds of stuff. If you can find the movie and watch it, I would say it's worth it, because we are not in anything else in this capacity. But I don't want to spoil it necessarily for anyone. But we all die. But I died first. Now, I died first because well, I don't want to spoil it. I won't spoil it. I died first. Next question. You would have to go with who would survive the horror movie out of the roommates or the horsewoman. Either that or figure out which horsewoman is who. The horsewoman that would survive the horror movie would be Ronda, because she wasn't in it. Her loss, though, it was a lot of fun. And as far as who's who, okay. Let's see if I can remember this, because I don't want to edit it if I can stand to. You have the white horse, which is Conquest. You have the red, sorry, it's not. I don't think they're horses. I think they're riders, but whatever. You have the white, which is Conquest. Red, which is War. Black, which is Famine, and the pale rider, that is Death. So what you have. The White Rider, who is Conquest, Ronda Rousey. The Red Rider, who is War, it's got to be the Queen of Spades. The Black Rider, Famine, that is Marina made over. And then last but not least, the Pale Rider clearly is me, because I refuse to tan. Next question. We were wondering, what was your worst drinking experience ever? It's been a while. I learned my lessons pretty early on. I think I went hard when I first turned 21. I was like, let's see what it's all about. And then I was like, it's not that fun. I was just not, I don't know. It just wasn't as fulfilling as I was hoping. Not that I don't drink. I definitely do. But getting to the point of having like really bad experiences is a thing that I've managed to avoid for quite a long time after learning a few really good lessons. But one that stands out in particular involved the Queen of Spades. And I was, so this is a great story actually. When I won my first UFC fight, which by the way, just gonna throw in a little factoid here, I set a record which stood for a really long time, which is not easy to do in fighting, in a sport that evolves and changes as quickly as it does. I set a record in my debut fight for the UFC for the most significant strikes landed by a debut fighter. So for somebody's first fight, nobody came out swinging harder and more accurately than me up until that point. And I bless her heart, I love her dearly, but Peggy Morgan's face showed it. So after I won my first fight in the UFC, I was moving to California, right? And I didn't have a car, and my sister was giving me a car. She was giving me they had a car that they had paid off, and they didn't need it right then, and she wanted me to have it, so they're giving me a car, and it was really nice, but I would have to drive it from Virginia all the way across the country to California, and I didn't want to do it alone. So Shayna, being the friend that she was, she came with me. So right after the fight, I went to my sister's house. We picked up the car, packed it all up. Well, I didn't pack it up yet. We drove from Virginia to Kentucky, packed up what I could. Then we continued driving. We stopped in South Dakota, where she's at, and picked up some of her stuff too. And while we were there, right, so we're stopping in South Dakota, and we're going to drive on to California, but while we were there in South Dakota, it turns out, by the way, the time that we were driving through South Dakota just so happened to be the coldest 2 weeks of the year. Like, I shit you not, the temperature gauge was at -40, all right? That's Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. But it's cold. And what I've discovered is after a certain point of being cold, it's just cold. Like, it doesn't matter if it's like -10 or -40. Like, it was just miserable. Horribly cold. We didn't want to necessarily drive in it. So we stopped for a few days. We packed up stuff. And one of her friends was throwing this holiday party. They had this big announcement. They ran a magazine and they were having this big party. And it was this big deal, this big celebration, and she's like, we should go, and this is her friend, and it's fun, and like you'll get to meet a lot of like the celebrities in Sioux Falls. Super cool experience. And so I'm like, hey, let's do it. Sounds great. Well, the Sioux Falls Roller Dolls were there. Okay, that's a roller derby team, in case you're unfamiliar. And let me tell you something. They party on a level that I was not prepared for, all right? And it started off really fun, and everything was really fun. We ended up singing like a really bad version of We Are the World on stage. At least it was bad on my end. I'm sure everyone else sounded lovely, but it wasn't. They included me in it, and I was like, this is a mistake. This is a huge mistake. But it was fun. It was whatever. And then somewhere along the evening, just things took a violent turn. And it was like straight to the bathroom. Like I was just like throwing up violently and miserable. And I remember going back and falling asleep, hugging the bottom of a toilet. Just the worst, most like humiliating way to fall asleep. And Shayna, you know, being a good friend, I woke up with like a blanket on me, like that's just sad. It's just so sad. And like, I felt horrible. That's probably really the last time that I think I really like got that drunk. I don't think that since then, because it's just so miserable. That's not fun, man. Like that is just not fun. Not to me. And it was like such it just ruined a good evening in my opinion. Cause I'm like, I don't remember anything. Like, what was the point? Like, I don't like just, I never want to sleep hugging a toilet ever again. Never, ever again. Please no. Good question. What's the worst pain you've ever felt? Also, flex your tattoos. No problem. Look at that.
That's right. That's right. I know you said flex tattoo, but I'm just flexing in general. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that little chicken egg. Look at it. Look at it. You see that? Yeah. Bounce a quarter off that. Worst pain I've ever felt. Parts of my tattoo were very uncomfortable, particularly right here. Not the green, like everyone thinks, the inside of the bicep. Right in the armpit. And I've been told by people that just around the armpit can be really painful, but that in the actual armpit is not. I don't know if that's true. I'm never going to find out because it was so painful. But not the most painful thing I've ever felt. I'm trying to think, like... It's funny because a lot of times when I've experienced pain in my life, doing the things that I do, I have adrenaline, on top of it. And when you have adrenaline, it changes things. It skews your pain scale. And you think, oh, this isn't so bad. And it's really not until after the fact. And you feel like the aftershock of the impact of whatever it was that you got hit with or hurt, that you realize just how bad you were hurt. But I always said, in a fight, I'm like, if you feel pain in a fight, like during a fight, you're really hurt. And the only time I have ever felt pain in a fight, bad pain, was when I broke my hand. And I'm sure you can see there. Let's try to see if it gets a little focus. You can see my scar there on the end. Classic boxer's fracture. I broke my hand in the fight a few times. The first time is great. It was in the fight against Leslie Smith. And I clipped her with a left hook right on the edge of my knuckle, right? She was fading away. And I threw a left hook and I just grazed her. And when I did it, I felt like my wrist pop. Like that. Just like that. And I was like, that was weird. Like, nothing. I was like, you see me in the fight. I've rewatched it. You see me like shake my hand out because I'm like, oh, that's weird. Keep fighting. Man, I remember ripping a body shot and it felt like I had a stick of dynamite in my hand and it exploded. Just piercing, shrieking pain. I don't even know any way to describe it. Just probably the worst pain I've ever felt. In a fight, when I have adrenaline, when I'm like, and this wasn't super early in the fight. Like we had been fighting for a while. So it was like, when I felt that, it was really jarring, and scary because I also didn't fully understand what was happening. Like, you have to understand, like, that stuff is happening so quick and your brain is like functioning on a different wavelength that like I did not even like process that my hand could have been broken. I just was like, something is wrong. Something is bad wrong. And while I'm like experiencing that, Leslie Smith sees it in my eyes because she's a fucking badass. And she swarms me and they've called the fight as they should have. And I remember just sitting there being so confused and like they came in and my coaches are like, what's happening? What happened? And I just remember saying, my hand, like something's wrong with my hand. Something's wrong with my hand. Like, and it sucked because I don't think anyone really understood. I think they thought I just like turned off in the fight or something. Like I just gave up or whatever. I don't think they knew. And I'm just like, my hand, something's wrong with my hand. And we did the thing where they raised her hand and we shook hands and whatever. We did all that stuff. And we get to the back, and the paramedics are like, oh, well, you said something about your hand. Let's look at it. And they cut my glove off. And when they pulled the glove off, like, my hand here was bent like this. Like, it was stuck up. Like, the bone was barely not sticking out of the skin. It's just, honestly, I think because I had a glove on that the skin didn't break. But it was bent up like like this, just snapped in half. And instantly, everyone in the locker room was like, oh, God. Like, just one of the grossest things I've ever seen.
And it was like, it was the first bone that I'd ever broken like that. That wasn't like my pinky toe or something, you know what I mean? And it was like, I remember being like, oh God, I've like hurt myself now. Like I've really hurt myself. This is not a thing that I can just rest off. I can't just take a few days off training and you know, ice this and put it back together. Like I got to get it fixed. And it was horrible. The injury was horribly painful. The surgery and the recovery from the surgery was horribly painful. The rehab was a nightmare and horribly painful. It was just a terrible experience. And that's why I'm a big believer that hands are not really meant for punching, okay? We use them to punch, we fight with them. They're not designed for it, okay? They're not. And if I ever needed to really lay into somebody, I ain't gonna use my hands, because I've experienced what happens when it goes wrong. And it's really easy for it to go wrong because the bones in your hand are just, they're tiny and delicate and not made for punching people in the face. I would use my elbows. They're a lot harder. They really are. Like, they're just way better designed for that kind of stuff. So that's probably the worst pain I've ever experienced. Who's a current UFC fighter that you think would be a perfect match for WWE? Easy. Angela Hill. All day. Angie Overkill. She'd be great. You know who else I'd like to see? Roxanne Modafferi. I would love to see Roxanne as like a manager. I really would. I really would. That's a great idea, actually. Was there an inspiration for your tattoos? And if so, what was it? On my arm here, you can see I have the armband. This was the first tattoo I got. All right, this guy here. It says every single second, and it was ideally, not that the guy did a great job. It was supposed to be in the same lettering as the Ultimate Fighter, because where I heard that phrase was from Ronda. She gave us an amazing, like, I don't know if you want to call it a pep talk / kick in the ass talking to when we were on the show and we were in training. And the moral of the story was essentially to just be where you are. Be present in what you're doing. When you are doing something, you focus every single second. You don't half-ass it. You can't be doing one thing and having your mind be somewhere else. You're never going to be as great as you want to be if you do that. You might still even accomplish stuff. You might still do okay. You might still pass. But like, if you want to be great and you want to hit that next level, it's like you need to be where you are every single second. And that just resonated with me. And so right after the show, I went and got this tattoo. I love it, but I always knew I wanted a sleeve. For a long time, I wanted a sleeve. I really did. I wanted a tattoo sleeve, but I just, it's a huge commitment, obviously. It's a lot of real estate on your body to just give up. And I didn't want to do it until I really knew exactly what I wanted. And I wanted something specific to me, something that was personal. And so what I chose, if maybe you noticed earlier, but this is the Cancer symbol, because I'm a Cancer. My birthday's June 24th, for anyone wondering. But this is essentially a Cancer sleeve. It's a Cancer-themed sleeve. So a few of the aspects, some of the things that people don't know about my tattoo that I think is very neat, little details, and it's just filled with little details. So Cancers have the crab is your animal, all right. The moon is your ruling planet, and water. You're a water sign. I'm a water sign. Other Cancers, so are you. And so I kind of had all these different concepts and ideas, and it took me a really long time to find the right artist that I could go and sit down with and talk with. And I saw the work that he did, and I was like, I could see that he was capable of creating exactly what I wanted, but I needed him to understand. And what I wanted my sleeve
to be was essentially armor. And I chose it for my left because in a fight stance, my left is what's forward. If I was going to wear armor, I would want this left shoulder, I would want this left pauldron to be a little bit more heavily armored because it's the one that's closest. It's the one that's going to be defending. So I wanted to have my armor on my lead arm. I have aspects of the crab. That's what the armor is. That's what you see here coming through the water. And because cancers are very moody, very sensitive, I wanted the water to be doing a lot of different things. I wanted some of it to be crashing and be crazy, and then I wanted other parts of it to be calm and fluid and relaxing. Like one of my favorite parts, I'm trying to show, oh Jesus, is like the pool here, this like reflecting pool that's all nice and smooth and calm. And got all these waves going crazy down here. But at the top of my shoulder, as you can see right there, the moon, this is one of my favorite parts actually of the whole tattoo, and almost nobody knows this. I looked up what phase the moon was in on the day that I was born, June 24th, 1986. And it was exactly this. And he was able to put the moon at the top, at the peak, at the centerpiece is the moon that's in the phase the day I was born, and I love it. And yeah, so I've got a few different aspects, but the idea is that. And the truth is, like, some people are like, I don't really get it. It doesn't matter. I don't really care. I love it. I get compliments every single day on just the colors. Like, I've realized, like, people don't even care what it is. The colors look amazing. This tattoo is, like, 7 years old now, which blows my mind. That blue, show me a blue that you've seen on a 7-year-old tattoo that looks like that. I bet you can't. Look at it. It's beautiful. Like, it's beautiful. And then just the green, the hiding the cancer, the symbol here in my arm, it looks like it's like a power cell, right? Like on the inside of my arm. But the guy's style was just so unique, so cool. His name's Carson Hill. He works out in California. I'm such a huge fan of his. I would love to go out and have him touch up the tattoo. The only part, actually, I think, that is suffering from any sort of like tattoo wear and tear would be right on my elbow, which, you know, if anybody has tattoos, you guys know that it's kind of a problem spot. Anyway, but really not terribly. Barely a little bit here. I can tell it's like worn off slightly. But overall, it's held up incredibly well. And I love it. I love it. And while I may not like ascribe to the astrology stuff or the zodiac stuff as much as I did when I was younger, I still really resonate with a lot of the stuff that you find, especially about cancers. Like I said, I am moody, I am sensitive, and I will put up a big hard wall to keep everything out and protect my soft squishy insides like a crab. And I will also snap your head off if I feel like it. Do you understand me? Like, I can do it. And my most recent, actually it's not my most recent, it was, over my heart, here I have a quote that was taken from a note that my dad left the children after he passed away. And it says, this is how he signed it. It ended with, live like you mean it, as like a final bit of advice that he left for us, which the whole letter wasn't really about that at all. It was more of just like his final requests, but at the end he left us this little gem, and I just loved it, and I thought it was perfect. And I took a picture of the letter, took it to the artist, and he was able to completely recreate his handwriting. It looks exactly like his handwriting. It's probably my favorite tattoo. Because every time I look at it, it just reminds me of him. Like, if you've ever known someone so well that, like, you recognize their handwriting, imagine seeing it every time you look in the mirror. Like, it's him. Like, it is him. And his initials, there were, like, you see dad, right? So I've had people ask, they're like, well, it's your dad, but why do you have dots in between?
because his initials were D-A-D, and that's how he always signed his letters, and I loved it. So that's the story behind that one. Last question, and it isn't even a question. This isn't a question. Well, this is a Q&A. What are you doing? But can this be when you turn the lights off and wield your lightsaber?